Welcome everybody to Three Wide in the Middle, your home for all things racing with me, Thomas Brandon, and my man Keith Bradley. Keith, long time no talk. How you been?
Good. Not
Good.
bad.
How's
How have you been?
Been good. It's been crazy. I'm glad everything's kind of done now because the last few weeks have been just insane. So finally starting to get things back. I mean, I guess you could call it normal. I mean, normal for me is kind of chaotic, but it's been really chaotic lately. So we're getting back to it. So yeah, but
Feel your pain.
yeah, definitely a busy couple weeks. Sorry everyone out there. We didn't have the show last week. Last week I was gone. So as you guys know, a couple weeks ago, my grandma up in Washington passed away. I had a live stream that I had done for on my YouTube channel, and I got done with it. And as soon as I got done with it, I had messages from family members up in Washington, and for them to message me at being like, "Hey, where are you? Hey, what's your number?" So like we got to talk, that type of thing. I knew something was wrong, and so sure enough, my grandma was in the hospital. They had only given her a couple of days. As you guys know, I hopped on the plane, flew up there. They basically kept her on the oxygen until I got there. I was able to say goodbye the whole shot. She passed away, and literally it was 6 or 7 hours after we left the hospital. So dealt with that. I came back, and they had the funeral this last week. They did it the 15th, and so they had pushed it out like a week and a half. So a lot of us who live out of town could go, because my grandma, she had 5 kids. All right, she had 17 grandkids and like 34 great grandkids. Like, I mean, she is a big family, and so a bunch of us that live out of state now, and so we all went back, and so me and my son, we drove up there Monday night. And it's so funny because I've made this drive like 50 times. It's a straight shot up I-5 from where I live. You're literally, you're on I-5 90% of the time. You know what I mean? It's just like you take, Highway 70 to 99 to I-5, and then once you get on it, you're literally on it until you're all the way up into Washington, and then you switch over to Highway 14, and like that's it. It's like, going cross country on what is it, Interstate 40, right? It's like, hey man, going from California to Oklahoma. Oh, well, I-40, right? It's just a straight shot. You know what I mean? Like, it's pretty hard to screw up. Well, my wife was like so worried about it because, it was me and my son, her baby, right? And mommies and their baby boys, right? And so she's like, be careful, don't fall asleep. I don't want you to go, all this stuff like this. And like I had woken up Monday morning with the plan of like, hey, I think I'll do? I think I'll stay up all night long and then try to do a 600-mile drive in 9 hours on no sleep, right? Like, I'm just like, babe, just relax. So got there, everything was good. Had a good week considering that we were there for a funeral. The circumstances obviously sucked, but got to see a lot of family, got to spend a lot of time with people. We had a really good time. Got back Friday afternoon. It was like around 11 or 12 in the afternoon, and I've literally been going nonstop ever since. I don't think I've had one day where I've slept more than 4 hours. So it's been crazy, but we're finally getting close to caught back up. The good thing is, and I'm hoping you got the same thing going on, it hasn't been hot, thank the gods. It's been nice and cool.
Yep.
Yeah.
It was like 94 yesterday. Hot, muggy, rained overnight, and now that I think the high today is 70, and it's mid 70s for the rest of the week. 40s overnight. I love it. My
Yeah,
time of the year.
me too. I love it, man. Summer, adios. See you later. Fall, please come. We need some more cool weather because I'm sick of the heat. So
Me
But
too. If it
yeah,
could stay fall year round, I'd be so damn happy.
well, I would be very happy. I do enjoy winter though. I do like winter. Like I do like it when it's
Yeah, maybe a
chilly outside. Now,
couple
granted,
snows.
yeah, that's the thing. I don't have Ohio, Indiana, Minnesota. I ain't got that kind of winter out here in Northern California. It gets cold, but it ain't like well, it's not -20 cold out here. Okay, so
Yeah,
we
you can
don't
have
get
that. I'll trade
yeah,
you.
we don't get 6 feet of snow type of stuff, right? Like it snows here once a decade. Where I'm at in the valley, and it's an inch or two. You know what I mean? We've got it for a day and then it's gone and that's it. Like I mean, it's one of those things where I can count on one hand how many times it snowed here in my lifetime in the valley, right? Like up in the mountains and stuff like that, we get snow, but like here in the valley, it's been 3 or 4 times in my life, so we don't get a lot of snow. Um, but the the thing that I wanted to talk about to kind of open stuff up here is we had the last couple weeks, we've had the NASCAR races. Obviously, we had last week the race at Bristol, and hats off to Chris Buescher in the 17 car. Happy for him. That was an awesome win, but there was obviously a lot of controversy that came with the win. Now, we're going to dive into a bunch of different aspects of it, but the big one for me has to do with perception and reality. So, what the hell am I talking about? Well, perception is essentially what shapes your reality. One of the examples or analogies that I always like to use is for this is because it's so simple is my cousin Nikki, her husband Ryan, he's colorblind, okay? For him, right? The sky is green. That's his reality. That's the way that he perceives the world because he is colorblind. But for him, that's his reality, right? Perception shapes reality, right? For my son, buying a $150 toy is no big deal because he doesn't buy them. I do, right? Like that's just the way he perceives it until I turn around and say, sorry, dude, we're not spending that kind of money. You better start working and earning some money, right? But that's the perception that shapes the reality. You listen to anybody who watches the NFL, right? Or even Major League Baseball or the NBA. Instant replay is a fucking joke. Right? It's stupid. It's a waste of time. Everybody who is pro instant replay, they all say the same thing. Hey man, I just want to get it right. Well, I too would love to have a system that gets it right. The problem is they get it wrong and it just wastes a bunch of time. But the perception of instant replay is that, oh, we're just trying to get it right when all it does is screw things up, right? The perception versus the reality are two different things. Last week at Bristol, we had two very different situations, and it literally just makes you throw your hands up and say, NASCAR, what the are you doing? And when we look at the caution flags that were thrown in the situations that regarded Joey Logano in one hand and then Brad Keselowski in another, they were two very similar situations in terms of what happened, right? Flat tire, issue, guys getting out the way, that type of thing. But the reaction by NASCAR was completely different. And if you wanted to make the case that, hey, they were trying to influence the outcome of the race, which I'm not saying that, I'm just saying if you wanted to make that case, you could, because that's the way it looks. Keith, did you see that in the Bristol race? Did
I
you?
might have missed it.
So the cautions that happened between the two car and then the Logano, right? One of them, they throw the flag super quick, super quick. Like there was no reason to
Yep,
throw the caution.
I know what you're talking
And
about.
that last caution really screwed things up. If you look at Kevin Harvick at that time, He was probably the fastest car on the track. He was making his way to the front. They did not need to pit, okay, because they had the fuel to make it. Everybody had the fuel to make it to the end, and there wasn't a big reason to come in and get tires. If you had a caution and you would run 100 laps or something, you would come get tires. But there was no reason to come in during a green flag to get tires because the tire fall off just was not there. And Harvick was in a must-win situation, needed to get the win to move on, and NASCAR throws a caution. Literally, I mean, it seemed like it happened almost instantaneously. Like they were looking for the first sign of trouble to just throw the caution. And they did. And you look at what happened earlier in the race with Keselowski when he had the flat and was able to get out the way, and no caution, right? So it makes things seem very suspect. And there was a number of drivers who all had the tire issues, and power steering issues were a big problem. I mean, you look at Bubba Wallace, and when he bounced it off the wall, when his power steering seal blew out, and how long did he ride around before he got to the bottom, right? And did NASCAR throw a caution immediately on that? No, they did not. So it makes it seem very, very suspect. Now, why do I bring that up? I bring that up because the perception, once again, when you look at this, is that NASCAR is a bunch of idiots when it comes to this shit. They're either idiots, they're inept, they're dumb, or they're manipulating it. I don't think they're manipulating it. I think they make dumb decisions, and then they make even dumber explanations for their decisions, which just makes the situation worse. I think for whatever reason, they threw the car towards the end of the race. We've seen this happen before. Something happens, they throw the caution. Now everyone's going to come to the pits. They're going to get lined. Everyone's going to pit. They're going to get new tires. They're all going to get bunched up and line up, and we're going to have the race to the finish. The problem is we end up with the caution and a pit stop that shouldn't have happened. This, of course, screws over Kevin Harvick because his freaking wheel falls off coming out of his pit stall, and there goes his season. And it's a really shitty break for a race that overall, in my opinion, because I watched the whole thing from beginning to end, was a pretty good race. It wasn't the best, but it wasn't horrible. It was a pretty good race. There was decent racing, decent passing. There's definitely stuff that needs to be improved on with these cars at the short tracks, which we're going to get into. But you've got this cloud now that hangs over it because of the way NASCAR handled a really what should have been simple situation, because it cost one of the most known and polarizing drivers a shot at a potential win. So, Keith, did you get to watch the race?
So yeah, I watched it. I watched the whole thing. I was shocked by how good it was. My expectations weren't very high just because of what happened at Martinsville with the car.
Yes.
I thought overall it was really good. I think NASCAR needs to get their head out of their asses when it comes to yellows because they're so inconsistent.
That's the
Because
thing, is the
when
lack of consistency, man.
when Brad Kay had his issue, and it doesn't require a yellow, but Christopher Bell, who's in the playoffs, keep in mind, has the same issue. They throw the yellow immediately. And
Mm-hmm.
the reasoning behind it was he was 3 wide, he had cars around him. There was nobody around him.
Yeah,
Nobody.
that's what they said. Yeah, and he was pretty clear of people,
Yeah,
He wasn't like
yeah.
in a pack, you know what I mean?
No.
Like,
And and my biggest takeaway from it, if I'm Kevin Harvick, I'm pissed
yes.
because I was looking at the lap time data on my NASCAR app, and he was by far the fastest car
Mm-hmm.
on the racetrack. He was coming to the front. Whether
Yeah.
he was gonna take the lead or not, we will never know.
Yeah. Yeah.
I
Passing's a different story, but no, he
Yeah,
definitely had
but
the
I
speed to get there. Mm-hmm.
I truly think he was probably gonna move the leader to win the race,
Yes.
which, hey, I'm fine with. It's Bristol. Stuff like that's gonna happen. But
Yes. And you've also
they
got to win to get into the round of 12. Yes.
100%.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel they took his playoff chances away. Yes, he had an issue on pit road, but that wasn't the crew's fault. Rodney Childers posted a picture of the hub, and and the snout that comes off the hub that the wheel
Mhm.
sits on was all chewed up.
Yep.
So, I
Yeah,
mean,
it's
it's
it
just
was more
very
of it
unfortunate.
was more of a mechanical issue then. It's not
Yep.
like the when you watched it happen, I remember when I watched it happen, I was like, "Oh my god, those guys really you didn't tighten the lug?" Like that's what I thought. And then when I saw him back up and the way that they were looking at it, I was like, "Oh no, something's broken. Something's not
Yeah.
right with that wheel." So, yeah, that was a tough break and we saw that on someone else's car too, where the where the pins on the hub line up had actually worn to where the wheel would not sit
Yep.
flush
I can't
correctly.
remember who it was, but yeah.
Yeah, was that was it Truex or who was that? It's gonna drive me nuts.
I
But
think
there
it
was
was
another.
Bowman.
It might have been Bowman. Yeah, because I know the Hendrick one of the Hendricks cars had an issue too. It might have been Bowman. But yeah, it's it's sad, man, that happened. You know what I mean? And like you said, we'll never know. It's a situation that, in my opinion, shouldn't have happened. Now, could have a caution happened later? You know what I mean? Yes, of course. It's just that's the issue, though, is the perception of it, right? You don't even have to be, excuse me, a NASCAR fan to just watch a race and go, dude, they're kind of inconsistent with the whole yellow flag thing, aren't they?
Yeah.
Right? Like, you know what I mean? Like, you
It's
don't even have to be observant to see it. So
and
it's
it's
just
week in and
sad.
week out.
Yeah. And
It's
it's just
every
sad.
and here's what blows my mind on it. Christopher Bell really didn't put any debris down.
Not that I saw.
No, and then I didn't see any. I mean, it just I feel bad for the 4 team because I feel like that was their shot to get in, of
Yep.
course.
Yep.
But then again, it it don't surprise me that they did it because if you recall a few years ago when Matt Kenseth was suspended for 2 races, NASCAR leaked some information, and I wish I could find it again, that they weren't going to suspend Matt Kenseth. The guy who's in charge of handing down the penalties and presenting them, his son was a Joey Logano fan, and I found out that's why he was suspended.
Yeah. See, that type of stuff is, oh, it's so bad. It's so bad.
And
Oh my
there's no
God.
place in any type of sport for stuff like that.
No,
There
there's
really isn't.
not. It's just get the house in order, man. For all the stuff that NASCAR has done, there's been a lot of good this year. We have been some of the first to talk about it in terms of a lot of the racing has been really good. We've seen a lot of improvements. There's a lot of stuff that has been positive signs across a lot of fronts. It really has been, and they've made a lot of good decisions on stuff. And I'm excited. I am excited about the future of NASCAR for the first time in a long time.
I
But
agree.
stuff like this is the type of shit, man, that just
It just
causes,
pisses me off. It
yeah,
aggravates me to no
yeah,
end.
because it's just Mickey Mouse shit, man. You know what I mean? Like it's Bush League. And I don't mean like, the old school, Bush series. I mean like Bush League as in it's an insult. Like it's just ridiculous. So, yeah, I'm really hoping we don't have any more issues like this the rest of the playoffs just because overall it's been pretty good, the playoff racing. The races that we've got coming up are it's it's going to be interesting, man. We've got some interesting tracks when you consider we still have obviously we've got what you call it Talladega, we've got the Roval, we've got um Phoenix, Homestead, Martinsville, you know what I mean? So we've got some interesting tracks that with the exception of maybe Martinsville, I'm
Texas.
not too
I'm not
sure.
looking forward to Texas.
Yeah, and Texas too, that's another one. But Las Vegas, right? Vegas is a track that's kind of similar to Kansas in terms of, the way it is. Those mile and a half tracks have been really good. Homestead, I'm interested to see how Homestead's going to be with this car. So, we've got some opportunities for some really good racing, and I just don't want them to screw it up with stupid calls, right?
Well,
So,
and unfortunately, they're going to.
yeah, I'm afraid they are,
And I can say
which
that
is a
in
bummer.
confidence, which
Yeah,
sucks. It shouldn't be that way. It should never be that way.
yeah.
And and I don't know if you watched the pre-race show or not. A couple of the Hendrick drivers were bitching at NASCAR also about teams can fix all the problems, they just won't let them.
Yeah, that's
I think we need to go back to allowing teams, if there's issues, you can fix them
that's
instead of having dumb stuff happen that shouldn't happen.
yeah, that's the thing, is NASCAR, I gave them a lot of credit before the season started when NASCAR allowed the teams to come up with the solutions for a lot of the problems that they're having when it came to the the heat in the cockpit and all this stuff that they were dealing with. And there was big issues with the steering and the steering box with the lock to lock and stuff like that, the way that it was working. And the teams came up with the solutions for that stuff, and I gave NASCAR a lot of credit for that. But it seems now the way that it's like, okay, well, season started up, we don't want you guys doing anything. I get the whole wanting to maintain the level of competition, but you've got to have problems solved, because right now there's some serious issues when it comes to things.
Yeah,
And I get the argument that NASCAR made about Bristol. That's a unique situation. It's obviously a much different load that's being put on we saw the power steering issues this last week. It's very hard to account for what that load is going to be on that steering box at a track like Bristol. I can tell you right now, one of the biggest reasons for the the load problem is the speed that the cars are carrying through the corners. These cars are flying through the corners.
yeah, they are.
It's insane. It's something that really needs to be addressed, because I think that's one of the biggest. I think if they took care of that, we would see a lot of other stuff improve. But yeah, you're right. NASCAR needs to let these teams handle these solutions. And they might come to a point where they've got to, because it doesn't look like we're going to be seeing, you know, a glut in terms of supply anytime soon when it comes to all these components and stuff like that.
Right, and my thing is these random stupid part failures shouldn't happen. Like Chase Briscoe shouldn't have to run 500 laps at Bristol with no power steering.
Yeah.
That's asinine.
Yeah.
It's stupid for it to happen. I feel like if you were allowing teams to go back like they used to and fix the issue, it would have never happened.
Yep.
Same with the fires. I'm surprised that they came out with a solution that quick.
Yep. I'm with you. So it'll be interesting to see what happens the rest of this season. But yeah, NASCAR once again does something stupid when it comes to the cautions. But moving on, let's get into hit or miss, because we've got a bunch of stuff to cover um, on the topic of, not just Bristol, but also things moving forward. So, Keith, first one, and this is going to be a big one for me. Hit or miss. Goodyear needs to make the tires fall off a whole lot more. Does that hit or miss the mark?
I'm gonna say it hits the mark
Yeah, I'm
because
with you.
that Bristol race could have been better if there was tire fall off, and that goes for the trucks, Xfinity, and the Cup Series.
Yeah, dude. What's his name? Noah Gragson. Dude, he won the race and his tires had like 100 laps on him, and he
Yeah,
was still fast. It's not like he was slow. He was still fast, man. The fall off is just not there. They got to have more fall off.
and I completely agree. I think it would make these boring ass races like the Richmond race and in Bristol. I think it would make it more exciting. I wouldn't alleviate it with the resin because then it turns into a one lane racetrack again. And I'm glad they didn't put the resin back down. But I think Goodyear needs to come up with a different tire that has fall off.
Yes. And
Because
that's
I mean
that's the issue.
that last run in the cup race at Bristol, they would have went 100 and something laps and they were still flying. I mean, Kevin Harvick was putting down some impressive lap times before the yellow came.
Mhm. Yep. Yeah, NASCAR, they came out, right? We got this next gen car, and I get it, right? They want to make them more recognizable to what we see on the roads. That is, I completely 100% understand that. Nobody is cruising. You don't buy a brand new Chevy Camaro ZL1 and it have 15-inch rims on it. No, it's got the 18-inch rims. It's got the low profile tires. Like that's what the Mustangs come with. That's what even the Camrys come with that, right? All those cars come with that. That is just how new cars are. They do not have those, big, you know, thick sidewalls that are like made out of bubble gum with these 14-inch rims. Those days are long gone. So I understand it. But if you're going to do that and then also widen the tire and increase the contact patch at all four corners of the car, you've got to figure out a way to have some fall off in those tires. You can't increase the grip that significantly. Increase the grip also in terms of the underbody with the diffuser and the downforce, and then have a tire that literally works as good as a GT3 tire, right? Because like that's what those guys are out there turning laps like they're in a GT3 race, except in a GT3 race, you're going left and right, so you're putting more wear on the tires. Where these guys, dude, it's like their tires aren't even wearing. It's the craziest thing I've ever seen. And they've got to have more fall off if you want to see that racing, because we want to see the cars sliding around. We want to see drivers having to work. Yes, I like watching cars go fast, but I like watching good racing. Okay? I've seen good racing in street stocks before. It doesn't have they don't have to be these modern technical marvels for me to enjoy the racing. They really don't. I just want to see good racing. And I think NASCAR's really got to fix this tire situation, because it's causing a big problem, right? In terms of one of the major aspects of the sport, which is the strategy behind the pit stops and the tires and that stuff.
And I completely agree.
Yeah. Yeah. So hopefully Goodyear will do that. I mean, I don't think we're going to see too much of it this year because this season's almost over, but going into next year, that is one of the things I'm really hoping they're going to work on. So, all right, next one, hit or miss. NASCAR needs to stop putting PJ1 on the racing surfaces. Hit or miss the mark, Keith?
Ooh, I'm gonna say, man, I'm gonna say it misses. No,
Really?
no, I'm gonna say it hits the mark.
Okay.
And here's my reason why. I feel like if you take the PJ1 away, the racing will be better because now they have to move around and manipulate things to find grip and not just, oh, hey, we can run through this grip strip right here and we're good.
Yes, that's what I want to see. Now I understand, and I bring this up
Get
because
the
we're gonna.
reasoning behind it, and that's why I was
Yes,
kind of iffy.
yes, and I understand that this week, at Texas, for example, right? I understand that they've got those tracks that they've been putting this crap on, and now it's destroyed the surface at the in those parts to where you literally have to have the stuff on there for it to have any grip whatsoever, because that
Yep.
shit ruins the surface. But they should not be adding it to any new tracks. And once a track is repaved or refinished or something like that, they should not be
Shouldn't have.
putting this crap on there anymore.
That's where I agree with it
Yeah, it's just
because
horrible.
it does destroy the racing surface enough to where it will force a repave
Mhm.
if they don't run without it because it just it deteriorates the concrete or the asphalt
Yep.
that the racetrack is made out of, and
Yep.
that's where I don't like it.
Yep. And see,
Now
one of
the tire dragon where they lay down the rubber, okay, I can get with that for a minute because it doesn't destroy the racing surface.
No, I'm fine with that. Because all you're doing is just you're essentially, it's like working in a dirt track. You're just pre-applying
Yeah,
rubber to it. I'm fine with that. I'm actually fine with that. I have no issue with that. Now, if they're going to do that, they need to figure out a way to do that consistently so you're not setting up one line over another to be so much faster, right? Have too much grip over another. But that is something that I think they can work on with some tire testing and stuff like that. The guys, the NASCAR and the teams, they've got incredibly intelligent individuals. So does Goodyear when it comes to, right, when you start talking about coefficient of friction and grip levels and stuff like that. So I think that's something they can figure out. But the PJ1, this crap, they got to stop putting it on the tracks. The tracks that they've been using it at for a while now, it's ruined them. Those track services have literally become like heroin addicts, dude. Like they need the PJ1 just to be viable. Like they need it just to function now. It's ridiculous. So I really want them to stop putting that crap on there. And these tracks, once they refinish them and resurface them, don't put that junk on there no more because it's horrible.
Yeah, I hate it.
Yep. All right, next one is going to be, this is a little bit of a different one, a little bit of a curveball, but after being the most consistent driver in the round of 16, Christopher Bell is now emerging as a top 3 favorite for the championship. Does that hit or miss the mark?
I'm gonna say it hits the mark.
I am with you, man. He has done really, really good.
He is showing up when the spotlight's starting to shine.
Yep.
And where it's starting to shine, the Chase Elliott's and the Kyle Larsons of the world are starting to fade.
Yeah, it has been impressive what Christopher Bell has done so far this playoff. He is averaging, I believe it is a 5th place starting position and a 4th place finish in the first 3 races of the playoffs. So he started 2nd at Darlington, 4th at Kansas, 8th at Bristol. He finished 5th at Darlington, 3rd at Kansas, 4th at Bristol. I mean, and he led a lot of Bristol. He's had speed. He's had legit speed. He hasn't been, it's not like he's fluked his way to the front. He's been fast.
Yep, I can't agree more.
Yeah, he has definitely been one of the best drivers, if not the best. Him and obviously his team too, this playoff so far. In fact, he moved up in my power ratings. He went from, I think it was 11th to, he is now tied for 2nd with Kyle Larson in terms of the rating system, the way that I power rate them. The only driver that is better than Christopher Bell right now in my power rating system, and it's by a half a position, is Chase Elliott. It's Chase Elliott, then Kyle Larson, and Christopher Bell. Those are your top 3. So he has been doing really, really good. And if he can get through, I think if he can get through this next round, the round of 12, I think he's got a legitimate shot at winning the championship because, obviously Talladega is a wild card, but Texas, I mean, who knows with Texas? It's such a garbage track. But then you've also got the Roval at Charlotte. But then after that, with Vegas, Homestead, and Martinsville, those tracks seem like tracks that could really set themselves up nicely for a Christopher Bell. Those speedways, Martinsville, obviously, it's going to be tough to tell with all the shifting and the shit there. But, the other tracks, he can do really well. And, he just got to get a win in that round to make it to that Final Four. And then anything can happen. So, yeah, I'm with you, man. I think he's definitely put himself in a really good position heading into the rest of the playoffs.
Yep, and I agree.
Yeah. So it's been a lot of fun watching it, man. I've really enjoyed it. I was sad to see Harvick not make it through. I was sad to see Kyle Busch not make it through, but it's been really good so far.
So, a funny stat before we move on to the next one,
Mm-hmm.
with the 2 RCR drivers missing it,
Yeah,
Kyle Busch and Harvick not advancing through. They all have one thing in common. They have either raced for RCR or they are getting ready to race for RCR. How ironic is
I
that?
know. It's hilarious. Which brings me to our next and final hit or miss. This happened while I was gone. We didn't get to cover it. But Kyle Busch signing with Richard Childress for next season is a home run for RCR. Hit or miss?
I'm going to say it hits the mark because Kyle's still a stud, and I think Kyle
Yes, he
will
is.
continue to be a stud till 3 or 4 years. I think he's got at least 5 years left in the tank, maybe more, maybe less. Who knows? But Richard Childress hit a grand slam on this. I mean, you're losing Tyler Reddick. Why not replace him with Kyle Busch? Why
Mm-hmm.
not? I mean, yeah, I think there's some more uncertainties, and I'm curious to see what happens now with Reddick going forward. But Richard, you may have lost an A, but you just gained an A plus.
Yes, and that's the thing, Tyler Reddick's ceiling, right? I mean, we don't know what his ceiling is, his potential ceiling. I mean, obviously, you look at what Kyle Busch has already accomplished. You're talking about one of the best to ever do it, right? Talent wise, the dude's incredible. Whether you like him or not, he's an incredible talent. So to even say that Tyler Reddick could reach that level is it's hard. It's a hard thing to that's a hard thing to say, right? You look at someone like Kyle Larson, who I would put up against any driver in terms of just raw talent, and there's no guarantee that Kyle Larson is going to have as good of a Cup career as Kyle Busch, right? When you think about all the wins that he's just in the Cup Series, I'm not talking trucks and Xfinity and everything else, just in the Cup Series with the championships and the wins, it is a very, very difficult thing to have the type of career that Kyle Busch has had. So
And I
for RCR to get him, you're right. It's huge. It's huge because I think he's got at least 4 or 5 good years left in him.
Yeah, and I compare this to when Kevin Harvick was at RCR. They've not had an A driver since then.
No, the closest thing they've had is Reddick, and that was basically this year.
And the downfall with Reddick, if you take the two road course races away, is Reddick really an A? We don't know. We truly don't. I know he's really, really fast, and he's going to make Toyota better, I think. At least
I
Denny Hamlin. I think he's going to make Denny Hamlin racing
I
a
think
little
he's
better.
an A level
His ceiling is
talent.
an A.
Yes, I don't know if he's an A level race car driver at this point. You're right on the road courses like that. That and his skill, his ability, his speed is incredible, right?
It
But he's
is.
got to put it all together, and I'm hoping that's when he gets over to 2311, that's going to happen.
I think they will unlock the rest of his talent over there. I truly do.
I do too. You
And
look at what happened with Kyle Larson when he went from, Ganassi to Hendrick. Like dude hit a level that nobody thought was even
huh,
possible.
and you see it with all these drivers that go from a solid team to an elite
Mhm.
team. I mean, Kevin Harvick did it in 2014, won his
Yep.
championship there, first year there.
Mhm.
Kyle could do the same thing at Richard Childress. He really could.
Yep. Look at what Matt Kenseth did when he left Roush and
Exactly.
went over to Gibbs. You know what I mean? Like it's just,
Exactly.
so I'm with you, man. I think it was an incredible um hire for RCR. Now it's going to be interesting to see what happens with Tyler Reddick now. Reddick, what are they going to do? Right? What's he going to do?
And from what I found out in Reddick's contract, he has to be in an RCR fielded car. It can't be no alliance team or anything like that. The car has to be Childress owned.
Yeah. And if
I wonder,
Childress wants him out, I don't understand how they're going
huh,
to work that.
and I don't see Childress digging deeper in his pocketbook to create a team for 1 year.
No,
Don't see it happening. I foresee Toyota buying Tyler Reddick out of his contract if, and this is a strong if, Kurt Busch moves on. If Kurt Busch retires after this year because of the health reasons, I could see Toyota buying Reddick out.
That could happen, the
But
more
but
that this goes on. It's so hard to know what's going to happen with Kurt
or
Busch.
Or better yet, Richard Childress could end up just sitting Reddick. It really could. It's gonna be interesting to see what happens. I foresee something happening or being announced November, early December. Because if this
Yeah.
goes into January, this is where my concern comes. There's gonna be too much, uh, what's the word I'm looking for? A distraction in the shop.
Yep. Yeah.
So,
Yeah,
who knows?
because RCR Richard Childress did not just sign Kyle Busch to sit him on the sidelines and go, "All right, man,
Yeah,
2023, we'll see you in the car," right?
no,
Like it's no, that's for next year. You know
because
what I
if you
mean?
if you watch his press conference, Richard
Mhm.
Childress said, "I don't care what happens with Tyler."
Yep.
So, he's standing his ground.
Yep. So it'll
And
be
as he should.
exactly. You know, it'll be interesting to see if he can if Denny can get Tyler into the car a year early. I do think if the opportunity is there to get him in the car, they'll get the contract stuff taken care of. That won't be a problem. Whether Toyota
Yeah,
steps up or
'cause
2311 or whoever.
who's to say Toyota? Because Toyota fully funded Kyle's truck team.
Mhm.
And I could see Toyota going to Denny like, "Hey, we'll pay for the 3rd car, just get Tyler over here."
Yes. I could see that too. And if you're Chevy, your GM, you got to be clicking your heels right now because you haven't had a driver of this caliber in, quite some time in
Yep,
in the RCR stable, right? Like
since
you've
Harvick.
yep, your banner carriers have been Hendrick, but you haven't had that that more rough around the edges type of, face in a long time. Chevy has not had that since literally the Harvick days at RCR. So it'll be cool to see Kyle Busch in a Chevy. I
Hey,
never thought I would see that again, but it'll be
and
cool to see.
and if I'm Chevy, I'm even more happy that he signed with the Chevy team because
Mhm.
that will bring more Chevy trucks to the Truck Series.
Yes, which they need. They absolutely need.
Terribly, they need it in a bad way.
Mhm.
Now it'll be surprising to see what Toyota does in the truck since they're losing KBM.
Yep. Yep. So yeah, a lot of stuff happening on the NASCAR front these last couple of weeks. So I picked a hell of a week to be gone, but that's all right. We got it all covered now. So we're gonna take a quick break, and when we get back, we got a big weekend coming up here on the dirt side of things with the Four Crown. One of my favorite weekends of the year, Keith. I know you love it too. So we're gonna dive into our favorites for the Four Crown Nationals this weekend when we get back right after this. All right. So this weekend we've got the Four Crown Nationals at Eldora. Um, I I gotta tell you, Keith, I don't know about you. I really love the format that they have now for the Four
Me too.
Crown. It's really cool. I don't know who came. I don't know if it was Tony Stewart or whoever it was, but hats off to him because it's so cool
They
the
need
way
a
that they
raise.
do it now. Yeah, it's so cool the way that they do it. So Friday night is the before the Four Crown, where um, Friday night, you've got the World of Outlaws will be running a full show. So they'll be running qualifying, heat race, dash, and feature. And then you've got the midgets, the Silver Crowned, and the USAC sprint cars running? Or
No.
no, I don't
So
think they're
the
running.
first night's the
Yes,
Outlaws. They'll
the
run a full
Outlaws.
program of midgets,
Yep.
and the Crown cars will qualify.
Yep, and the Crown Cars will qualify. And then Saturday night, you've got the All Stars, the USAC Sprints, the Midgets. Those three will run full shows, and then the Silver Crown will run their feature. And it's just a really cool weekend of racing. So, with all of that, Keith, who are your favorites to get the win in the let's start it off. We'll start off on the our favorite, the wingless side of things. Who's your favorite to get the wins for night one and night two in the midgets?
Ooh, night one, I'm gonna go with Justin Grant.
Good
Night two, I'm
pick.
gonna go with Thomas Meseraull. RMS Racing sweeps the weekend.
Good call. It's so funny. I was actually talking to one of my cousins up in Washington when I told him what I did for a living. He started like, really? I can't believe you do that. It's like, yes, I am a professional sim racer. But I was talking about, you know, when I first was doing racing back in the day on the race team when I was on CMR and stuff like that, and we were doing the midgets and the wing sprint and stuff like that. And I was telling the story of our first asphalt race that we had done in the midgets. It was a USAC Western States midget race back then. It was at the Stockton um, pavement track, which was like a quarter mile. It was like a quarter mile high banked pavement track. You had Stockton and then also Madera. And I remember back when Thomas Meseraull, was like an asphalt guy. Like that's what he was known for back then. Like he was the guy who kicked everybody's asses on the asphalt side of things. I remember one of our drivers, John Sorali, he was telling his dad when we were sitting there after Team Ez had put it on us at Stockton on the pavement, where he was saying, I wish you had started me in quarter midgets on the pavement when I was a little kid like Meseraull, so I could be better on the asphalt. And it's so funny that, he was like the asphalt. I mean, don't get me wrong, he raced dirt and was good out here on dirt too, but like that's what he was like, the asphalt guy. And now he's like the ultimate gas man on the dirt side of things. It's so cool. I love it.
Yeah, Timez is probably one of my favorites.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely. He's one of my favorites too. He's just fun to watch, man. And he's also good. I mean, he's a phenomenal driver. So all right, so good picks. My picks for the midgets is going to be, I'm going to go a little bit of a different route. So I'm going to actually take God dang it, I lost my list. Where'd it go? I want to Oh, dang it. I want to get my list because I want to make sure I always get the name confused. Bum, bum, bum. So I'm actually going to go with Macintosh and then Kofoid.
I like it. I like
Yeah.
it. I like both of them. They're both really fast.
Yeah, they are. I would now I would love to see Meseraull win it just because I'm such a fan of his. But since you already picked him, I gotta, my backups there were Macintosh and Kofoid. So Kofoid's leading the points right now. He's got a good lead in the midgets over Justin Grant as the season's winding down. So yeah, the midgets are always fun at Eldora, obviously for the 4 Crown. So who is your pick on Saturday night in the USAC sprint cars?
Hmm. I don't I don't know if Sunshine's racing, but I'm gonna go with Robert Blue. He's always fast there. Always.
Yeah, he is always fast there. That's a really good pick. And that was actually my number one pick. Yeah, I don't know. It's interesting because I imagine you're going to see a lot of these guys pulling double, heck, even maybe even triple duty, right? Running the midgets, the non-wing sprints, and even you'll probably see some guys running the Silver Crown. So I'm going to take Justin Grant. I mean,
I like it too.
he's leading the national sprint points right now. I imagine he's going to be running the midgets and the sprint cars. So, yeah,
He'll
I'm going
be
to pick
pulling triple
Justin
duty.
Grant. Triple duty. Okay.
Yep. He'll be running the midget sprint car in the Silver Crown.
Okay. Yeah. See, I don't know if Sunshine's going to be running it because I know he's going to be running the winged car, right? In the All Stars. So I
Yeah.
would imagine he would be running the midgets, I would think so. I mean, he does so good in the
He dominates at Eldora, whether it's a wing car, non-wing car, Silver Crown, he's just really
yeah,
good
he's
there.
just awesome there. Like he could show that could be his one midget race out of the year, and he's gonna come. He's just like shows up and he's like the guy to beat. It's incredible.
Yeah,
So
it's crazy.
yeah. All right. What about your pick on the Silver Crown side of things?
So, I think I think Logan Seavey repeats.
You think Logan Seavey? That's a
Yeah,
good one, man. I thought about him.
he's really good there in a crown car. He was really good there last year.
Yeah, he is really good there, man. I thought about Logan Seavey, but I'm gonna go with CJ. I like CJ,
I
man.
like
I,
it
I
too.
think he's gonna I think he's gonna pull it off this year. Um, he just when it comes to the Silver Crowns, I don't know. CJ literally is my guy on those things. Like I'm always just hoping he does good. So yeah. All right. Well, on the wing side of things, so Outlaws on Friday nights. Who you gonna go with the Outlaws on Friday night?
I'm gonna go with Jacob Allen
Dude, that's a good pick. He has been on
on fire.
yeah, dude. Like, where did this come from?
I don't know, but it's not just him. And Logan Schuhart's running really well too. And
Yeah.
it wouldn't surprise me if either one of them guys wins Friday night.
No, it wouldn't, man. They've been doing so good. Like
I'm gonna pick Shark Racing to win
yeah,
Friday
that's a
night.
that's a good pick. Yeah. Dude, they hit the West Coast, man, and just
They lit the
tore
witch.
up the dude, they just tore up the state in California, man. It was insane. Yeah, dude, that's a good call, man. I'm gonna go with Sheldon, and that is just
He's good there
purely
too.
an emotional pick, man, that I'm hoping Sheldon has
And
a good run. He's been really up and down lately.
he was gonna be my first pick just because he's really good at Eldora. He's really good at the big tracks where you gotta be
Mhm.
on the fence.
Yep.
But man, it just concerns me with their inconsistencies.
Yeah, it's almost like he's forgotten how to qualify lately or something. I mean, it
Yeah.
seems like he's starting every feature from the back.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? He has
And
been.
and and it's hard to win races when you start 22nd
Yes. Well,
still.
especially when you look at the competition that you're running with, man.
Oh,
You know what I mean?
100%.
So, yeah. So hopefully Sheldon shows out on Friday night. All right, how about your final one? We got the All-Stars on Saturday night. Who you got for the All-Stars on Saturday night?
Ooh, and this is where it's tough, but I'm gonna go outside of the box here. I'm gonna say Chris Windom gets his first career win with the All-Stars.
Ooh, nice pick. I like that one, man. That's a good one. I actually didn't think of him. Um, I thought about going with Sunshine, but that's too easy. I'm gonna actually go with Rico. Rico's
And I
running with
could
the All Stars. I want to see Rico get the win there, man. I
and
really
and
like
I
Rico.
and I could see that happening too. He won there last season,
Mm-hmm.
and then he's pretty fast there too.
Yep. So
I wouldn't be disappointed if Rico won it, if Tyler Courtney won it, or if Chris Windom won it.
yeah, a lot of good wing guys coming up, man. It's sad to not see them running without the wing, but it's good to know that we at least got some good crops of drivers coming up to the sprint car ranks. So yeah, it's gonna be fun, man. I'm looking forward to it. Our buddy Bruce, he's going to the 4 Crown. I'm like, dude, you son of a, I wish I
We
was
need to
going.
fly you out here next year for it.
Dude, I need to, man, so bad. I want to so bad.
I think it is my favorite weekend of the year.
Yes, I would like to go just because this time of the year, we're getting close to fall. The weather's not ridiculous. You know what I mean?
And you just can't go wrong with Eldora. The food is cheap. Like, it's like $3 for a cheeseburger. You can't go to a racetrack and spend $3 on a cheeseburger. I'm
No,
sorry.
you can't get a
And
cheeseburger from McDonald's for $3.
no. And the camping there, if you like camping, is amazing.
Yes.
And that's why it's my favorite weekend of the year. You go across the street to the Eldora Village that they call it, and it's full of campgrounds. It's usually sold out, and it's nothing better than waking up, making breakfast on the grill or whatever, then just hanging out, playing
Yeah.
cornhole and bocce ball and stuff like that, and then 4 o'clock rolls around and you're walking across the street. It's a freaking awesome weekend.
Yeah. See, I would love to go to it, man. I've always wanted to see a race at Eldora live. It's one of the tracks on my bucket list. We
And
never got to go there back when I was traveling around with the race team and stuff. It's one of my biggest biggest regrets of not getting to go to.
and it's amazing, especially because it looks fast on in videos,
Oh,
and
it's
then you
I'm
you
sure it's
go
even
to
faster in real life.
oh my goodness, you go to the infield and you get up next to the damn fence and they just come flying past. It is
Yeah.
crazy.
Yep.
Like last year, me and a couple of my buddies and Trevor Royer, we all went last year. We were standing on the inside of the pits there. We stood behind the fence at I think the entrance of turn 1, and Zeb Wise came in and just barely hit his bumper on the front wall, and you could see the concrete blowing off the fence. It was insane.
That's crazy. Yeah. Yeah, next year I'll have to try to get out there for that, man. That would be a lot of fun. My wife might kill me, but it would be fun. So,
It would be.
yep. All right. Well, before we wrap up this week's show, we've got one last thing to do, and that is our goat of the week. So, Keith, you've got a goat of the week for this week?
I'm gonna go with 2 of them. I'm gonna go with Noah Gragson and Christopher Buescher for winning both the Xfinity and the Cup Series races. Noah ran a hell of a race, and then tire strategy won the race. 100 and something lap old tires. Who would have thought? And then Christopher Buescher. I mean, people say, well, he won a race. Well, he did by technicality, but he
Yes.
flat out earned the win at Bristol. I think he
Mhm.
drove probably one of his better races, and it was a long time coming for Christopher, for Chris Buescher, and Roush Fenway.
Yep. Yep, I'm with you. So, good call on that. I like it. My my goat of the week, I'm going to go a little bit of a different route just because of what he said in the pits after his power steering issue with Martin Truex Jr. Just for his quote, they had said, "What's the problem?" And he said, "Well, it's like Harvick said, crappy ass parts." So I love it. It's one of those things that we spent 30 minutes earlier talking about stuff that's got to get fixed. I love it when those guys are just blunt and candid like that because it needs to be said. It needs to be taken care
A-
of and
And
fixed.
and when Harvick and Truex says these things, it goes a long way because they are big voices in the sport. I
Yes,
mean,
people listen. That's the thing.
when they speak, they listen.
Yep.
And I think it goes back to the beginning of the year with Kyle Busch. He said the cars were built from Walmart.
Yes.
I mean, to take away from the goat of the week, to not take away from it is, I agree with that
Mm-hmm.
100%. Um, NASCAR's got a long way to come with this new car, especially safety wise. We gotta, not we, they've got to figure out how to keep these drivers safe.
Yes, they do. 100%. So yeah, that's gonna be my goat of the week.
Crappy ass parts.
Yep, that's right. So good call from Truex. Made me laugh.
Probably a good thing Tony Stewart's retired.
Yes, it's definitely a good thing Tony Stewart is retired. Although I would love it. It would be
I would
great for
too.
content.
Yeah. Hey, and all these people, all these race fans that bash the drivers when they speak on the car. What are you gonna do when Kevin Harvick, Kyle Busch, and Truex Jr. retires? Because these younger guys, they ain't saying nothing. So
No, mm-mm. They're not. You know what I mean? They're not.
that's concerning.
It
It really
is.
is.
and they need those guys, those old school drivers who have been around for a long time, in the sense that these guys, Kevin Harvick has literally been here from when this all started, right? You think about, he was in the car that we had back in the late 90s, early 2000s, all the way through the car of tomorrow and every generation since, right? Like, he's been a part of that. He knows what's been good, what's been bad, the benefits, the downsides of whether it's the downforce, the horsepower, right? Like, you listen to someone like Kevin Harvick, he's like, dude, give us freaking 1,000 horsepower, man. Let us go out there, low downforce, 1,000 horsepower, and make us drive these things, right? Like, that is a good angle to have. He's gone through it. And so for him to say what he has been saying about this car, you should listen, because that is someone who has been around a
100%.
very long time, right? You know,
100%.
yeah, if Dale Earnhardt was alive today, if he was saying the same thing, you better believe NASCAR would be listening. So they should be
Now
listening to these guys.
nowadays, if Chase Elliott doesn't say nothing, everything's good. We got to
And
keep that in mind.
that's the thing. But you see, I don't think Chase Elliott doesn't say anything because he doesn't believe it. I just think Chase Elliott's not the type of person to do that. I just, you know what I mean? Like, I don't think he's that type of he's not a Kevin Harvick type person, right?
No,
He's not going to talk like that, right? Even though he has said things in the past before, whether when he had an issue with Harvick, or spats with other drivers on the track, but that's not his nature. He is not
but
the Tony Stewart, Kevin Harvick, Denny Hamlin, Kyle
right.
Busch type.
And when it comes to the car, I think they expect the older guys to speak up and say something. I mean, I know we're trying to end the show and we just keep rambling on.
Yes, but
Um,
it's the truth though.
that there is a reason why these drivers voted Jeff Burton as the Speaker of the Driver Council. Because when Jeff Burton
Absolutely.
talks, people listen because he is a pioneer of the sport. And it's the same thing with Kevin Harvick, Kyle Busch, and Truex. And not only that they're pioneers of the sport and they've been through the evolution of the car, more so Harvick than the rest of them, they're also
Mm-hmm.
champions. They're going
Yep.
to listen to them. I feel NASCAR is going to fix this car. And I think they need to go to work on it as soon as the season's over.
Yeah. Yep. I'm with you. I think they do as well. And I believe they will. I really do. I believe they will. So hopefully,
I just
we're
hope we
right.
don't I hope we don't get into January and then we're finally hearing about the car.
Yeah, me too.
Because then it's too late, I think.
Yep. Yep. So, all right, everybody. So that's going to do it all for this week's episode. Now, please, as always, keep doing what you're doing. Download, follow, subscribe, and share it. Get it out there. Share it with
Leave
your
a
friends.
review.
Yep. Please leave a review. 5 stars if you would. That would be awesome.
Be great.
The numbers are growing. I'm trying to figure out that. So the platform that we're on is not the best at showing me the analytics. Like, I got to go to all these different things to see the numbers. So like, the show's growing, but because of this Mickey Mouse platform that I'm on, it's not showing me everything that I need to see. So I know things are growing and you guys are doing stuff for us, and that's awesome. So keep on doing it. We appreciate it. And yeah, like Keith said, leave us a review. If you're on an Android device, Spotify review is great. If you're on an Apple, of course, you could do it on the Apple Podcast, Apple iTunes, whatever it is. So whatever the hell they call it now. So, but anyways, you guys, that's going to do it. Thank you very much. We will be back next week. Keith, my man, have a good weekend. Enjoy the racing. We got a full weekend of racing and NFL football, which is awesome. So I'm looking forward to it. Yep, looking forward to it. So have a good weekend to all of you out there, and we will be back next week to do it all over again. And until then, as always, take care.